everybody. I don't seem to be seeing them. Here we go. Okay, so we are kicking off tonight. I have to say, I have been looking forward to this night for such a long time because I have enjoyed every single one of these that I have done thoroughly, but I just knew if Helen agreed to come on that we would just have a marvelous time. So tonight we are talking about Southern Lady Code, and I have the hardback edition. Helen has the soft cover, which that just came out in May?
Just came out, yes.
Yeah. So we're celebrating the launch of the soft of the paperback, and so as usual, I'm going to postpone my introduction of the lovely Helen for a few minutes as I go through admin and everybody starts to log on, and we'll go back and forth. Helen, I'll ask some questions and then people always chime in with questions. So I will read them to you and give you a chance to respond. And as people tune in, I always call them out. So Bethany is here. Yay. So happy book club is back. I am too. I hope we're not having trouble with the video.
Can you see me?
It says it's having trouble with playback. So there we go. Okay. We seem to be back. Fingers crossed. Lori is here. She listened to the audiobook. Oh, so Lori, I was just asking Helen if she did the audiobook, and she did.
I did.
I love that. I love that. People ask me all the time if I'm going to do my audiobooks, and I know. Maybe someday I will, but if it were essays and it were entirely my voice, maybe I would do that. But okay, we'll get into all that. Okay, some admin. Yes, we have had a little bit. We were really regular throughout the spring and the early summer with our book clubs. And then as everybody knows, we took a little break. We were with J. Ryan Straddle a couple weeks ago. That was fantastic. And now we're with Helen. We are going to have another 2-week break. And then I am going to have a season finale. And the season finale is going to be me. The season finale is going to be my book launch, and it's going to be online with Majors and Quinn booksellers in Minneapolis. So all you need to do, it's not going to be live on my Facebook page. It's going to be on the Majors and Quinn Facebook page on Tuesday, the 28th, 7 p.m. So it's the same time, same night, just a different Facebook page. And I will be harassing all of you with notifications about where to find it and when. So don't worry about marking it down right now. But so that is the admin. Then I am going to be doing publicity events and be on book tour for a while. And it's going to be summer. Well, it's already summer, but it's sort of going to be the doldrums of summer. So we're going to take a break and come back in the fall with a whole new lineup. I should say, everybody, that I'm thinking about just doing it once a month going forward. As much as I have loved doing this weekly, it's I think it's more realistic on an ongoing basis to do it once a month. Plus, then that gives you more time to read the books. So, but I'm still going to do it because I really enjoy it, and you all seem to enjoy it, and I've been getting a fantastic feedback on it. So let's keep it up, and I will be back in the fall with more information. So if anybody who has logged on could just let me know if you're having any pauses in the video or any trouble with the video, that would be helpful, because Facebook on my end looks a little wiggy, but that is not necessarily universal for everyone. So I'm gonna keep going with just a little bit more information, but if you could, in the meantime, send me a comment in the comments and let me know if all looks and sounds all right. Video is fine. Oh, okay, great. Thank you, Bethany. Yay. Okay, so Miss Helen Ellis. Helen, I have to say, every time I type your name, I want to give Helen 2 L's. Like my brain jumps ahead to spelling Ellis. So if you ever get an email from me and you're Helen, that's why.
I'm a little
Not
devil anyway.
a little devil.
That's
So
right.
Helen, I had the absolute pleasure of moderating a panel in 2019, May of 2019 at Wordplay in Minneapolis, which is the live book festival that was sadly online this year, but will be back in the future. And I strongly encourage you to attend. It was so fantastic. But I had the immense pleasure of hosting Helen because Southern Lady Code had just come out, had just been released. And the other part of the panel was Lorna Landvik because Letters from a Radical Hag, I think was the book that had just come out.
True.
And so we were talking about, hometown humor, because Helen, obviously you're having grown up in Alabama, obviously this is about growing up Southern. And Lorna Landvik, of course, is a Minnesota treasure. So that was fantastic. And she was nice enough to answer my email when I just pinged her out of the blue again this year and said, hey, remember me? Want to come back?
I remember those white jeans, Gretchen. Nobody ever made white jeans look so good.
You are so sweet. I was wearing these white jeans. And it's funny. I look at the pictures and I'm like, wow, I can't believe I wore those white jeans. But that's what Helen remembers about
every
me.
Day.
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, that was so fantastic. So Helen, this is your third book, second book of essays. Yes. So her first novel was Eating the Cheshire Cat. And then I'm going to have you tell everybody the story that you told on stage about the interim between Eating the Cheshire Cat and your first book of essays. But your first book of essays did fantastically well, American Housewife, followed closely behind by Southern Lady Code, both New York Times bestsellers, deserving of the title. Yes, so I'm just thrilled to have you. And you're a World Poker Tour player, aren't you?
I'm very unhappy with the poker situation right now, because normally this time I would be it'd be over by now, but the World Series of Poker in Las Vegas, I've gone every year for the last 10 years for 1 to 2 weeks. It's a 6-week event. And every year I go, like any poker tournament, it's thousands of people in very tight, relationship to each other. And there's a 50-50 shot you're going to get sick. And I always say it's worth the risk. I don't care. I'm happy to get sick. I get sick every summer from that, because you're just passing the chips around and, people are this close to you. And, but I love it. I love it. It's the closest to, that I'll ever get. But this year, of course, it was canceled because it's people from all over the world flying in, and it's just a mosh pit of germs.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
I consider it to be a wonderful time. The Rio Casino, where people were getting Legionnaire's disease last year. I mean, that's how dirty these things are. They canceled it, and it's happening right now online. But you have to live or be in New Jersey or Las Vegas, and that I am not. So
really?
yes, so no poker for me. No poker for me this summer. So
next year,
please,
yeah.
please, next year. But ask me about the interim, which is a very nice way, our nice Southern lady way of saying 15 years of complete and utter failure. Between my first book, which came out in 2000, and it went just like
it was really well received.
It was very well received.
Really well received.
I was 29 years old. It sold for a lot of money. I went on a big tour. It did well. And then I wrote another book and nobody would publish it. And then I wrote another book and nobody would publish that. And then I wrote a third book and nobody would publish that. And then I quit writing and nobody cared. I quit for a long time. I didn't write for probably 3 years after so many failures. And I kept going to parties or events, and I'd be with my husband, instead of asking me, they'd say, what do you do to me? And instead of saying writer, because it had been over 10 years since I published anything, I didn't say writer, because if you say I'm a writer, the question is, what have you written? And then you have to say, oh, it's been out of print for 10 years and no, I haven't written anything. So I would say the truth, which at that point was, I'm a housewife. And the very next question, if there was another question, was, what do you do all day? And so to sort of deal with that, I started this anonymous Twitter account called What I Do All Day. And that's still my handle. And my husband didn't know about it. And I have a writing workshop that I was still meeting with, even though I wasn't writing. And they didn't know about it. And once I got, I think, 100 followers, I started to tell them about it. But I started to see in my tweeting about my real life anonymously patterns develop. Like I was tweeting about book club, or tweeting about being a failed writer, or tweeting about toddlers and tiaras. And I started to write short stories about what I was tweeting about. And then I would send these short stories off to slush piles all over the country, university presses where there were lit magazines. Did not give my history at all, because anybody who was editing those magazines was 20 years old, had never heard of me. And I slowly got pulled out of the slush, story after story after story, and they all had to do with writing what I knew to a degree, which was being a housewife. However, there was always a twist, like, I'm a housewife who's haunted by doormen that I have murdered. Or I'm a housewife who has a book club, but really it's a surrogacy ring. Or things like that. And then, I just sort of sat ass backwards into this short story deal, which was American Housewife. And then I just never, once I got a seat back at the table after 15 years of being away, I was not going to let the opportunity to have my writing life pass me by. So I wrote Southern Lady Code, and in quarantine, I just finished the new book, which will be out next summer, 2021. So
You have a title?
yes, at the moment it's called Bring Your Baggage and Don't Pack Light. And it's more essays, more funny stories.
So it's more essays.
More essays, yes. More this time it's more about aging and female friendships.
Oh, I love that. Okay, I was going to ask, because this book seemed to come out of an essay that was an American Housewife called Southern Lady Code.
Yes, and up until about a month ago, the new book was coming out of this book, and there's the last piece in the collection is called That Kind of Woman, and that has been the title of the new collection for the longest time. But my editor wanted something jazzier, and she wanted to name it after one of the essays in the book, which is, "Are you there, menopause? It's me, Helen." But I refused. So right now it's called Bring Your Baggage and Don't Pack Light.
Well, if you need feedback, you're getting lots of love that title.
Oh, good. I do need feedback. Yes, please. Yes.
I love it too. I do. I love it. Your Twitter feed often, which I love still, is I noticed last year you were posting a lot of, I'm the kind of woman who, and then it'll be an observation. And I was like, ooh, I bet Helen's working on something.
It's been going. And I think to myself, as a writer, I'm always looking to see what other writers say, and in these sorts of interviews. And as a 49-year-old writer who just got a seat back at the table, when your editor says change the title, you change the title.
Yeah.
There are certain darlings, even though that was a real darling of mine and the sort of seed to the book. If she doesn't think it's a good enough title, then I change that title, because that is what an editor is for.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, I'm excited. Okay. I'm going to have to finagle an ARC.
Well, you know me, you know somebody.
I know somebody. I have connections.
You have connection.
Okay. Did you know we're the same age? You look fantastic.
No, you look 30 years old.
No, I don't.
I'm 19. Oh, damn it.
No, I don't. You know, when we met, okay, this is not about the book at all. So everybody get your questions ready and start typing them into the comments. So in the lag time between when I tell Helen this story and when you enter your comments, we'll see them. But when we met, I had just told you the story about running into an author that I admired so much and like unintentionally insulted her by saying that I couldn't believe from her essays how good she looked, because she has, I mean, she's had just an incredible life, and didn't mean it as an insult at all. But you said, and I was telling you how she responded and what she did. And you said, I take really good care of myself. It's really important. And I went home and I was like, I am taking better care of myself. And I went online and I bought like $250 worth of face care products. That was my first move. But I was so glad I did.
We should all be moisturizing right now.
Yes.
No, in the new book, there's an essay called "I Feel Better About My Neck Because I Had Something Done," and you can read all about it.
Is that a tribute to?
It's a tribute to Nora Ephron's
Yes.
"I Feel Bad About My Neck," because I think my new book that comes out next year lies somewhere between "Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret," and "I Feel Bad About My Neck." So it's this we are 49 and we're on the verge of, we're all perimenopausal. You are. If you didn't know it, you are.
No, I know it.
If either one of us start crying or throwing potted plants, that's what it is. It's this weird like second puberty that nobody talks about. And so I'm talking about it.
I'm swooning. I mean, if you talk to women who were born in the 70s, raised in the 80s, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
Yes. They're the bookends to my life. And they're both sort of users manuals, so I hope to sort of fit right in there.
Well, you are certainly worthy of Nora Ephron comparisons. So I'm thrilled. I'm so excited. I still think of myself as Sally in When Harry Met Sally. I'm not that young anymore, but that's my mental age in my head. You know how you have a mental age where you feel like Sally Albright.
I always felt 45. If I was 19, I felt 45. So I was very happy to be on the other side of 40. And that's the other thing, like when it comes to Southern Lady Code, this was the first time I wrote true stories, and same with the next book. In my late 40s, I've lived, and I'm not embarrassed about anything, and I'm happy to tell you all about it.
Oh, I absolutely love them. What do you think people resonate, or when you were on tour with this book and the last, what do people tend to resonate with in the books?
Marriage. This one is, both really are about marriage. The first, the American Housewife, is fictionalized stories all about marriage, and this is a lot about marriage, and a happy marriage, and a child-free marriage. There's a piece in this book called, I really do like to pay tribute to old titles, "Free to Be You and Me," and child-free.
Yes.
So it's, I think I've received the most comments from women who chose not to have children, and they don't hear, someone has just wandered in. Would you like to make an appearance? You want to come over, dear? He said he sensed us talking about him. So here comes a muse. You just scoot around here and say hello. Come over. It's a special guest star and my muse, Mr. Harris.
Welcome, Mr. Harris. We were just crushing on your wife.
I was just watching you guys. It's a fantastic conversation.
Oh,
I heard my.
It's his first appearance in any talk.
I just came to wave from afar.
Are you going to get me a cookie?
I don't know.
Okay.
If you want. Nice to meet you.
nice to meet you. Thank you for sharing Helen with us. Or maybe we should thank Helen for sharing him with us.
You do find out a few secrets. You do find out a few secrets about him in both books.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, I think you
just wandered in.
Oh, that's Orange Tabby.
Fun in quarantine.
Fun in quarantine. The other, oh yeah, absolutely. And one of these essays was first a modern love essay in the New York Times, wasn't it?
That's what started the whole shebang. You know, I wrote this piece called "Making a Marriage Magically Tidy," which is about how I saved my marriage by becoming a recovering slob. Because I am a creative woman, which means slob. And I wrote this piece for Modern Love, and it just exploded. And my publishing house was like, "Can you write more true things?" And as the poker player that I am, I just bluffed my way into an essay collection. Yes, I can do it.
Yes, I can.
Sure. And I just am continuing to do that. Sure. I feel like I'm cheating when I tell true stories. You know, I feel like, whatever I'm telling has already happened. So it's just like me talking to you now.
But there's a skill there, because I come from a family who starts on Tuesday to tell you a story that really happened a month from Wednesday. Like, you got in fact, that's a code word. That used to be a code word between my parents. They'd go, "Tuesday, dear, Tuesday." Like, you're way, way deep on the details. Yeah.
My mother tells a story about when she brought my father home to Yazoo City, Mississippi for his first visit. And it's the entire family of talkers. I'm the quiet one in the family. So my father is just sitting at the table as all of the Holmeses were just telling stories. And my mother's father leaned over to my father and said, "Look, this family's conversation at the dinner table is like a herd of buffaloes. They're just gonna run past you, but don't worry, they're gonna come back around and pick you up and carry you on."
Oh, I love it. As long as they don't stampede you, that's good.
Right. That's right. So I think of writing as just like running with the buffaloes.
Oh, that's absolutely right. Well, you can tell that you come from a family of storytellers. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, the other character she's not a character, she's a real life person, but I absolutely fell in love with your mama.
Mama, I know, Mama. Yeah.
She's iconic coming out of this book. Does she act that way? Does she act like the superstar that she is now?
She does. She's softened a lot in her older age because, she's a retired attorney now. And she has softened up quite a bit. But my parents had a garage sale last week, and my mother calls and leaves a message on the machine. "Helen, Michelle, your father has let all the early birds into the house, and I just saw someone come up the stairs with my laptop under his arm trying to buy it." So,
I fell in love with her everything, Helen Michelle.
I know.
What do you think it is about? What do you think it is about Southern mamas? I mean, they are an American character unto themselves. They're almost iconic, Southern mamas. Yeah. What do you think it is?
I think that we know best, and we're not afraid to tell you. And see, I'm saying we, even though I'm not a mother. I have that in me. I think, and it's interesting. I've been married for almost 20 years, and when I got married, my mother started to pull back and saying, "Well, you're a married woman now. I don't want to butt in." And I said to her, "I want you to butt in. Why would I want you to change?" And she did. She told me, "Clean the goddamn table. Your husband Your husband's unhappy that the dining room table has stuff on it. Just clean it. I mean, do you know what other women have to deal with? Abusers, men married to their Atari, drunks. Clean the table.
Clean the goddamn table, huh,
That's
Michelle?
valuable advice. That was valuable advice.
Yes. You know, so I have Southern family. They're all South Carolina from
Oh,
Clemson.
that counts. Yes.
That does count. Yes. I was instructed there are only 5 real Southern states, and that is one of them.
Yes.
So I do know. But my my aunt there is one of my favorite aunts, and she told me when I was getting married, she said, "Darling, the only thing you need to know for a happy marriage is that you can get anything you want as long as you make him think it's his idea."
Yes. Oh, no, I heard many pieces of advice. One was the man.
Absolutely true.
Yes, the
Say it
man.
again.
Oh, so here's a couple of pieces of advice. One is the man always, or the husband always has to have the last word. Yes, dear. And then my great aunt, Katie Bell, who is one of 5 Katie Bells in this family. My niece is another one. She was in her 90s, married for 60 years, and we were at a family reunion in Jackson, Mississippi. And I always ask when I can, what's your secret to a happy marriage? And she was sitting there with a huge tumbler of scotch, which I think might have been the secret. But she said, one of you has to give 90%, 100% of the time. But for me, the secret to a happy marriage, separate bathrooms. And if you can't afford separate bathrooms, separate peanut butter jars. I do Jif. He does natural ground up nut business. I don't know.
The kind you got to stir.
Yeah, I gotta stir my peanut butter. I was not put on earth to stir the peanut butter.
Well, if you had said goober grape, I would have been worried about you.
No, really crazy. Do you believe it? I can't. It's like the hot and cold water. You gotta have peanut butter and jelly in the same jar. That's anarchy. That is anarchy.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
When it comes to an entanglement is when you get caught up in the laptop cord. That's what an entanglement is in our family. We have a closed marriage. Our marriage is closed.
Oh my God. Oh, Eric from Dallas is saying, is that a thing, stirring peanut butter? Yes, Eric, it is.
Yeah.
You get the natural peanut butter and the oil separates from the top.
If you're a hippie.
You have to reconstitute.
Yeah,
Look at my face. I'm like,
No.
I have to
No. Jif, you turn that right upside down, nothing comes out. I'm a hippie.
But Eric, I'm going to guess you do know what goober grape is that we're talking about. I'm just going to guess. I'm not saying you eat it, but I'm just going to guess you know what it is.
Y'all know what it is. Like we know what, I think something all that we don't do. I know what heroin is. I know what eating Tide Pods are. But I don't do that either.
I had to actually ask my kids if that was a thing. I was like, are people seriously eating Tide Pods? And they're like, yeah.
That's silly.
No, it's
They're interesting things to eat. And believe me, I'm eating them in the quarantine.
Quarantine. So are you in the apartment now that has the ghost in it?
Yes. Well, we haven't seen her, but we are in this apartment. My husband was born in this apartment. Well, not on the floor at the hospital 3 blocks away. But he has lived here all of his life, 49 years. And I moved in 20 years ago. And this is a pre-war New York City apartment. So it's 104 years old. So it is old. And there are a lot of ghosts in the building. And we did have a ghost right over there. The Moon Lady, who his brother saw as a young boy who I picture her like Maria Callas. She was in a long ball gown with jewels and all of that, but I have not seen her, but I'm sure she's here.
Yeah.
She's not pleased with what I've been wearing in the quarantine. Not pleased at all. Like, ooh, it's a white button down again.
Just on the top. The bottom's all
Starting
different.
on the bottom.
Oh,
I'm turning into,
yeah. What'd you
Yeah.
say?
I'm turning into a hippie in the quarantine. I am.
Yeah.
I've been in one pair of jeans. I have one pair of jeans, and I've been in those jeans pretty much every day.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
I know. You guys are safe though? Everybody's healthy.
Safe and sound. We're in the heart of the city, but I will say that I feel very safe. We seem to be on a downswing in terms of infections. Everybody's very respectful. I always have, I'll show you, I always have a mask. This is my new mask from Leslie Jordan.
We need to tell everybody to follow him on Twitter.
Yes,
What's his handle on Twitter?
He must have 11 million followers now, but he played Beverly Leslie on Will and Grace, and he is just the salvation for the COVID quarantine. Every day
Yeah.
he's a little pillow talk, and he's a Southern delight, and I just love him. So he started, as he should, making cute little masks, because that's what he says every day. Well, shit, how y'all doing? So I thought I wore my formal mask to today.
He really is a treasure. I really love him. Okay, we are at 7:30, and I try and let you go by 7:40. So if anybody has questions, pump them in now. But I'm gonna ask something that I always ask writers when I have the pleasure of having you on here, and then I'm gonna have you close with a little reading, if you would.
All right.
I love hearing you read.
All right.
Okay. So here's the question, and I actually find it fascinating as a writer too. What is it like in your head when you're writing? What do you see what you're writing about? Do you mainly hear? What's it like
That's
inside
a
your
really
head?
good question. I'm censoring myself, and the word that's in my mind is orgasmic or hypnotic. It is trance-like. It's like if you think about when you're falling asleep at night and you can feel yourself going. It really is magical when it happens, and I hear a voice. I hear my voice, but and I'll write, and sometimes I'll hear a word, and I won't even know what the word means, and I'll go ahead and write it down and look it up, and I'm like, yeah, I guess that's what I meant. But I hear a voice, and I just obey the voice, and I rarely know where a piece is going.
Really?
Yeah, I rarely know. I get an idea or have a question. Like, and the last 2 books have been essays. So like I always start with the title. So I had the title for an essay in the new book called, I shouldn't go to the new book. I'll go back to this book. So I had a title in mind for, free to be, you and me, and child free, and I wanted to write about why we didn't have children. And I had no idea where it was going to go. I just knew what the title was, or I wanted to write a piece called A Room of One's Own that's full of gay men. And I wanted to write about how growing up in Alabama, I didn't know any gay men. And when I moved to New York City, I was surrounded, and it was like stepping into Narnia and finding out all the lions could talk. It was such a haven and such a happy place to be in a room full of men where I did not feel endangered. But I didn't know what I was going to say or where it was going to go, and those 2 came out really easily. But then sometimes the pieces don't come out easily. Like, again, in this collection, I went to see a friend try a murder case, and I had no idea I was going to write about the experience. But in the first 3 minutes of watching her prosecute a vicious murderer, I thought, I have to write about this. And I went to court every day for weeks to watch her. And that took 6 months because I didn't know exactly, what this, how I was going to tell it. and so sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's not, but it always starts with like just a little germ of an idea. Like and right now I think to myself, oh, I want to write something called "May I Hold That Grudge for You?" Because I will hold a grudge for you. You will forget why this person did whatever they did to you, why we don't like them, but I remember. And I will never do anything for that person again because I remember what they did to you. But I have no idea, how the structure will go, how it will happen. But I walk around with titles. I have like a spreadsheet of titles as ideas. So
that's fantastic. So it's almost like you're falling into like a relaxed state where your mind can.
Yes.
Oh,
and the
fantastic.
more you do it, the easier it becomes. Like these essays I think are more controlled. They're very tight. And in the new book, I think I myself am I don't want to say a looser woman. But as you age, you start to like just let go of a lot of your constraints. And in the new book, I think the essays are longer. They're more relaxed because I'm more relaxed. And I just, the more you get into the process, the easier it becomes. I don't know how, I think you have a novel coming out in 2 weeks that I'm thrilled about, and I can't imagine writing a novel. I cannot imagine how you do it.
You've done several of them, but yes, I can understand. I don't know how you do it.
Three garbage ones. I cannot imagine committing to that kind of size. I mean, how you do that?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, sometimes I get on the other side of it myself and I think, what the hell was that? How did I do that? And thank God for editors.
Yes. I have a friend, Ariel.
And my writers group.
Oh, yes. You have a writers group?
Yeah.
So, me too.
Yeah, and it's fantastic. They are life and death for my work.
How long have you been a part of that?
5 years.
Yes, 25 years. I've been with my writing.
I'm jealous of that. That is fantastic.
Hannah Tinty, whose last book was The 12 Lives of Samuel Hawley, and Ann Napolitano, whose book Dear Edward came out this year and was like huge bestseller. And we've been in the writers group for 25 years. We met in graduate school, and those are my first readers, always.
Yeah, always. So there's interesting question that Eric from Dallas asked, and I think it kind of relates to what you were just saying about your essays. I'm assuming you did a lot of work on your latest book in the middle of the quarantine, and he says, how do you stay inspired where so many of our social interactions and experiences are so limited right now?
I have a long past, Eric. I spent 48 years and 7 months outside of quarantine, so I had a lot to draw from. And when I was finishing the book, I thought, am I going to write about sort of the quarantine experience? And then I read Samantha Irby's latest book, Wow, No Thank You, and I was so happy to not think about what was currently happening. And I thought, that's what I'm going to continue to do, just sort of go to my memory bank and write about prior experiences. But so I just would escape into memory. And that book is now finished, and I haven't, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. I don't know what I'm doing with myself right now. I have post-book depression, postpartum baby depression. Yes,
that's a thing. Yeah, that is a thing. So did you feel like your writing changed during the pandemic?
I did. I just felt, I don't want to say fearless, but I maybe fearless. I just was so contained. I was just sitting in this back room, and my husband is a news editor. So this apartment is now, CBS News Central. So there's a constant soundtrack of politics and social and just a constant feed of news in the background. And I would just put my headphones on and zone into what I was working on. And now I'm just eavesdropping all the time. There's an 8:30 meeting every morning. I just come out and listen to what they're going to write about today. Who's the latest Karen?
Who's the latest Karen?
There are a lot that we don't hear about, believe me.
Oh, I believe it. I do believe it. I do believe you. Do you want to end with a reading?
Oh, sure.
This
All
has
right.
been so fun, Helen. Thank you
It's
so much.
my pleasure. It's been my pleasure. All right, so I'm going to read a little tiny piece called How to Stay Happily Married. And I think we could call it How to Stay Happily Married in Quarantine. How to Stay Happily Married. On his birthday, give him a singing card and shave above your knees. On Halloween, cap your teeth with candy corn and leap out from behind their living room sofa. On Thanksgiving, dab a little Campbell's cream of mushroom behind each ear. On Super Bowl Sunday, incorporate a giant #1 foam finger into your lovemaking. Don't get angry when your husband sneezes too loud. Don't get angry when he sneezes more than 3 times in a row. Don't tell your husband how he almost messed up. Don't walk around with a bathrobe pocket full of Kleenex. Don't let your big beige panties hang over the lip of a hamper. Don't let him see you get into an athletic bra or out of a pair of control top pantyhose. Don't wear eyeglasses on a neck leash. Don't lotion your elbows in front of him in bed. Don't remake the bed after your husband makes it. If your husband is loading the dishwasher, he's loading it right. Accept it. Every time you cry out from another room, your husband isn't going to cry out, "Are you okay?" Quit quoting When Harry Met Sally and Carrie and Fatal Attraction and 9 to 5. No matter how many times you say, "Oh, I've been looking for a red suede pump," or "They're all going to laugh at you," or "I'm not going to be ignored, Dan," or "I'm going to change you from a rooster to a hen with 1 shot." Your husband will never get the references. Nor will he understand why the good dermatologists cost so much. If you can afford it, have separate bathrooms.
There you go.
If you can't, have separate peanut butter jars. Buy earplugs and scented candles. Buy eye mask. Buy birthday gifts from the 2 of you. Write thank you notes and forge his signature. If you can't say anything nice, lock yourself in the bathroom. If you don't know how to say you're sorry, say it with fondue. If you're in the mood for love, stand in front of the TV naked. As long as your wedding ring fits, you haven't let yourself go.
I just love it. And scene.
Hey
I just love that so much. Oh, in fact, after reading that the first time, now I check my wedding band all the time. I'm like, uh-oh, it's a little tight today.
I know. Have we all put the COVID-19 on?
Oh, well, Helen, I'm getting lots of thank yous in the scroll. This has been such a treat. Thank you for joining us. And I can't wait for next year. I'm so excited.
I can't wait 2 weeks from now. Tell me where I should order, what local bookstore I should order your new book from.
Aren't you such a good plant?
Yes.
So
That's what grown-ass ladies do. Grown-ass ladies buy the book.
That's right. That's right. The Kids Are Gonna Ask is the title. Comes out July 28th. And Eric's saying you're much better than Cosmo. majorsandquinn.com. You can order signed copies. If you pre-order them, they will come signed. Or if you call any Minneapolis bookseller, I'll probably, and you ask them to have me come sign it, I'll pop it down. But Majors and Quinn is hosting me for the launch, so that would be great.
That's what we're gonna order.
I will be. I'll send info on the launch party.
I'm sure they'll let us order during the launch party on the 28th as well. I'm sure
They
have
will.
Yes.
Yes. So, and that'll be in conversation with J. Ryan Straddle, who had the cover blurb.
Let me tell you, he wrote one of the best revenge scenes I've ever read in my life. What was his first book with the hot peppers on the bus?
Kitchens of the Great Midwest.
I love that book, and I love that revenge scene.
I agree. I agree. Well, someday we'll all have a cocktail together,
I would
or
love
we'll
it.
puzzle.
I would love that. my computer is sitting on 3 puzzle boxes right now. It's good, stability.
Yeah, it is. Good height.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for joining in, and thanks for your questions for Helen. And thank you, Helen. Everybody go out and buy Southern Lady Code and get American Housewife while you're at it, and keep your eye out for next spring. Tell me the title again. Something about baggage.
Bring your baggage and don't pack light.
That's right. That's right. Okay. We'll see everybody soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gretchen.